Good to see everyone. I'll make a couple comments now that I've had an opportunity to go back and watch the film from this weekend a couple times. Excited that we were able to convincingly get a win over a big rival as University of Northern Iowa. We knew they were going to be well prepared. We knew they were going to play hard. But our kids continue to be resilient. We had a little bit of adversity during the course of the game early. And I was probably the one that was more panicked than anybody. Our guys just kind of keep going with the flow and always feel like they're prepared. And a lot of that has to do with quality of coaches we have and the preparation that we put in during the week. But, a couple things offensively, I thought we just got to continue to work on finishing blocks. And some of them downfield, I thought there were some plays that could have popped, been bigger for us if we just sustain a block here or there a little bit longer on the perimeter and at the line of scrimmage, of course. We missed some throws. There was one. It was the last drive of the second quarter. We were moving the football, had a couple timeouts left, and Phoenix Sproles was wide open in the middle of the field when all of a sudden when Trey got scrambled out to his left and tried to hit Babbage on the sideline. And so just things that we can continue to learn from. The young man's doing an outstanding job. Trey's an excellent competitor. He's going to learn from those things, and he'll be better this afternoon, of course. And so looking forward to being able to challenge him. Ball security, unfortunately, we had a turnover that resulted in points. And, of course, it's all about the football. We continually talk about it. We try not to use the word turnover a whole lot around the football facility. I like to use the term takeaway more because then it gives more of a defensive thought process rather than an error on our side. But on the defensive side, it was kind of the tale of two halves on third down. You and I was 3 of 5 in the first half and 1 of 7 in the second. And so I think anytime you're able to get a good quarterback in McElwain off the field, and they had some really good receivers as well. You saw they could go up and win the 50-50 balls. But for us to be able to get them off the field consistently and get our offensive line back on the field had a big part of winning the football game. And then lastly, we must lead the country in PBUs. We need to come down with a pick here or there one of these times. And I know it's easy for me to be frustrated about it, but our kids are playing well. They're in the right spots, and they'll happen sooner than later. And then special teams continue to work on the operation time from our snapper to kickers. But the positive, we got guys like Jasir Cox was back this week, and I thought played well for us. Julian Wodarczyk is doing a great job. Luke Wirtz, James Kaiser, Destin Talbert, a lot of young guys. You're hearing names that are freshmen, redshirt freshmen that are being big parts of what we're doing on the special teams right now. But, overall, a good solid win, plenty to learn from, plenty to be excited about. You saw, our equation of 55, we surpassed it again. Running the football effectively on early downs, minimizing the number of third and longs we're in, which then allows us to keep moving the chains. So looking forward to it, excited to be home again. Having 2 home games in a row should be a good week, and I think we're going to have a little better weather this week too. So I know our guys are excited to get back to practice, and big team meeting this afternoon. I'll open it up for questions.
You guys are in the thick of it now. How would you describe and how pleased are you with the identity that this team has formed for itself?
I'm pleased. You going into it, we had a lot of hungry players that wanted to prove themselves, that might not have had as many reps under their belt or reps during critical times of games. Jackson Hankey's a young man that jumps out at me that I can think of, played a bunch in 2018, but maybe not in critical moments. And so I think they've done a good job. We've tried to establish ourselves as a solid defensive unit. Offensively, we want to try to threaten every corner of the football field that we can. And then special teams, we think that's an area where we can continue to win football games and be better than our opponents. And I'd like to think up to this point we've been relatively explosive. We've scored a couple 2-point conversions. We've had some big returns, and we have not given up a big return yet. And hopefully that continues to go. But we'll continue to practice all 3 phases. I think there's still, Beth, I never want to come across as ungrateful where we're at. I just don't want our players to become comfortable and where we're at. I think there's room to get better. They know it. There was errors on Saturday that we can easily, and not there's very few ever effort errors with the Bison. There's some mental things that we can clean up, and just it takes time, it takes reps, and that's why we're going to get them coached up today.
Missouri State team that struggled a little bit, you guys are going to be pretty heavily favored. How do you kind of keep the focus this week, and with a team that is supposedly not likely to pose much of a threat.
Well, the video that I'm going to show today shows a USD team in 2015 beating the Bison at home, and shows a Indiana State team beating the Bison at home in 2012. So, we have coaches that were part of those games. We have, including myself on the 2015, Coach Olson, 2012 as a player. So if those two things can't get us, get our attention or keep our focus, then it's up to our coaches to make sure that we make sure the main thing's the main thing all week, and that's winning a football game.
Matt, halfway home, any surprises for you so far, that pleasant otherwise, through the first 6 games of the year?
I always excited about that we're maintaining our health. A lot of that has to go to Bobby Knodel and Jim Kramer. I think right now we've had a few injuries, but knock on wood, we've continued to get kids back and ready to go. Jasir Cox is a great example. Jackson Brown, they've both had some ailments, but are back and we're hitting that last 6 games. That's critical, I think, in the development of this team. We've had some young kids that have really, we thought they were special when we recruited them, or they wouldn't be here, but probably have shown us that they can even do more. You're talking about Jacob Lippy, Kobe Johnson, Javier Darrett, the Mostart twins. I could continue, Terrell Hall. I mean, guys that maybe haven't played for you, but they're right on the edge of playing and having the ability and giving us unbelievable amount of depth. I mean, Terrell Hall's practiced with our 1s and 2s the majority of the year. The last time we did that was a young man by the name of Jalen Allison did that, and he turned out to be a pretty good football player for us. So that's where I'm probably really excited. And then just the ability for our team to remain humble right now. And to me, when you're humble, that means you're willing to continue to learn. And those guys, we haven't had to deal with egos or we've arrived. It's, Coach, what do we got to do next to win the next ball game? And so, I'm pleased with where we're at. That takes a lot of doing when you're 18 to 20-year-olds to have that mentality.
Get too comfortable. How do you make sure that doesn't happen?
I think we just continue to remind them, continue to show them things that we can continue to improve upon. And then I think at practice, just how we go about our business isn't going to change regardless of who we play. We're just going to keep taking it day by day. Today's going to look a lot like last Monday. We're going to require a lot of execution out of them. We're going to install some game plans, work on special teams, and we're just going to keep going about our business as is.
This on Saturday, but I've been really impressed with Coach Roll and his play calling and just the offensive scheme as a whole. What do you think he's doing really well, and how much does Randy have to do with that? Does Noah have anything to do with that? What's kind of the structure there?
Well, I think the first thing that Tyler would tell you, Coach Roll would tell you, is all of them are doing it right now. From the things that Coach Blazek's brought with him in the run game to Coach Larson, who's been an offensive coordinator. Coach Pauly's been an offensive coordinator. And then, Coach Hedberg's been a head coach, offensive coordinator, the best quarterback coach in the country. I think all of them have had their input. I think the thing that he's done a really good job of, an exceptional job of, are his openers. I mean, we are in multiple personnels. We're attacking every angle of the field. Our run games, we're starting fast. You saw that first series of the game, able just to get down the field and get in the end zone and finish a drive. And that isn't always how we've started here. And so that's where I'm the most pleased, is just we're scripting successful plays early. We're staying on track. We're not getting behind the chains at all. So I've been impressed with how we've opened games up, and then we're able to set things up, come back. You've seen a lot of our perimeter run game, our iron and steel, as we would call it, our power sweep game, but then all the play action off it. Without being successful at one, you can't run the other. And this week, for instance, we hadn't ran any of that perimeter run game against the University of Northern Iowa in the previous 4 games. We ran it 8 times on Saturday. I mean, it was something they probably didn't think we ever wanted to run against them, and all of a sudden, now you're defending it, with everybody. And so doing a great job of just keep changing, not getting comfortable or redundant in what we're doing play call-wise.
There's about 12 to 15 plays.
Typically, as long as we can stay on task and stay, keep moving, be effective on our early downs. You get stuck behind the chains on a 3rd and 13, you got to get off your openers, of course.
How vital are walk-on players? I just look at the 2 deep. You got Trey Ford, who's playing a lot on special teams. You got Cody, who's on the 2 deep. Ching, on the defensive line. How vital to this program are walk-on players?
Unbelievable. We couldn't do it without them. walk-on guys that are performing at scholarship level right now. And that always is a great thing for any program. But we've had a history and a tradition of those guys coming in here and being difference makers. It's funny you asked the question. I was just looking at it today. How many reps? A guy like Matt Beagler's played 200 snaps already this year. And he's a walk-on from Underwood and doing an outstanding job at the defensive line for us. And Costner Ching, Trey Fort, Trevor Height. I mean, I could continue to. It's a long list of really good football players, and a lot of them will be rewarded for their success.
A guy that's been here 5th year in the program maybe hasn't had the ability as some of the other guys to get reps early on, but a guy that's just kind of dealt his time and waited his time. What does he do for the other guys that are coming in that maybe aren't walk-ons that are trying to get the football
I think
field?
his knowledge of our defense is at an all-time high. He's a 5th-year senior. He understands what we're doing. He understands from a fundamental and technique standpoint, so he can pass those things on. And I think Trey has a unique insight to the program, having a grandfather that played here. He understands the expectations, but also understands the importance of being a key part of our special teams, which he's been for a number of years now.
About the defensive tackle position that seems to Brian Schatz, Aaron Steidel, the two guys you have now. Is Coach Gazer just that good? Walk-ons.
Yep, he is. He is that good. I think a little bit of it is those kids come. Coach Gazer creates an unbelievable relationship with all of his players, but I think those walk-ons come in and have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. And maybe I was an inch short. Maybe I wasn't quite big enough when I got here. Matt Beagler came at 220, and now he's 275. I mean, there's a great example of guys just buying into the program, buying into Coach Kramer and what he's doing in the weight room, buying into Sammy and the nutrition plan, buying into what my role is going to be. And you've heard me say it. Once guys find out what their purpose is, they typically have greater performance as well. And we're fortunate to have guys that want to be here. And we're in an area where kids grow up and they want to be Bison when they grow up. They want to play for the Bison, and we get some pretty dang good ones that come through our doors.
Offensive line player of the week. Is he another one of these farm tough guys?
He is. He is exactly. He's played probably, and I'm not trying to slide anyone in the league, but 2 of the better defensive tackles / nose guards in back-to-back week and done an outstanding job. I mean, you're talking about we're averaging probably 280 yards over the course of the last 2 weeks, close to 300, and it all starts with the guy who asked ID. He starts the communication chain at our center position, and excellent job by him of learning under Tanner a year ago, but also Coach Blazik, Coach Roll, our offensive staff, putting Carson in a situation where he can really be successful.
Played a whole lot until this year, so there must have been some concern that he could do it at this level.
Well, I think there's always a concern with any new body or new starter or inexperienced. As coaches, we are worrywarts, and we're always crossing our fingers, hoping that guys step up. But with Carson's background, and there was never the toughness factor was never in doubt. It was from a mental standpoint, not having the reps. Can he make the decisions? Can he ID things quick enough so we can get the ball moving and get the snap executed?
Compare him to Volson.
They're a little bit different, but the thing he is stronger than Carson is much stronger than what I maybe had given him credit for early in his career. That was one thing. Tanner was really athletic, and so is Carson. But I thought Tanner was probably stronger, and I've glad to say that I was incorrect. Carson is an extremely strong individual. You look at me, 6'6", 330-pound nose guard a week ago, and he did a really good job. This week, the Brinkman kid, 500-pound bencher. Carson just goes about his business and did a great job, and 350 yards of rushing later, he's conference player of the week, and he deserves it.
Griffin's performance been? A lot of teams don't necessarily have a backup place kicker that will come in and basically don't notice the difference.
Right. He's been outstanding. Now, I smile because he's still 18 years old. He's barely out of high school. Came last year. He's fun to be around. You never know what he's going to say. He's a little just different, but I like him. He's good. He still talks about, I'm getting up there a little bit older, and some of the things he talks about, I have to go home and ask my boys what he's talking about. But he's consistent. He comes from a big soccer background. Dad was a soccer player. He grew up playing soccer. Brothers at Cincinnati. He's their place kicker, so it's in his blood. It's what he wants to do. It was going to be an open tryout all year long, and Jake had done a great job and had a little bit more leg strength than Griffin going into the season, but due to an injury, Griffin stepped up, and I can still remember the Butler game saying, "Are you ready to go?" And those eyes were as big as saucers. But he's done a great job of getting in there, and our guys really trust him, and I think that's what's great. They know he's solid. He's gonna get the ball up. He's gonna do the things that we need, and that's score points.
Our senior quarterback, you're going to see, Peyton Huselig well. How has he evolved from 2 years ago when you first saw him to now?
Well, I think the first time we saw him, he was a lot quicker to leave the pocket, take off. I think he's more comfortable in the pocket, probably manages the game a little bit better now. They do have some big, long receivers that would be similar from a size-wise that you and I did. Big 6'3" guys. The guys can go up and get the football. But and they still have some quarterback run game that goes through him. So you're going to have to do a nice job of probably playing more too high than single high. Make sure you have that extra defender to stop the quarterback run.
4-game guys, is Weirtz now in the totally in the boat, or?
I think he's only played 3 right now, so not quite. But he's getting close. He's a good football player. He's one of our best football players. You guys have heard me say it before. I'm in the business of playing the best guys we have. If he's better than the number 2, then we need to find room for him. And he's done a great job on special teams. He's on a couple. He's continually progressing at the defensive side of it. I mean, that's the more difficult part to grasp, but he could win us a ball game if he needed to play.
To it, like Hall and Mostart guys, I mean, you see them playing here eventually as the season progresses?
I think there's opportunities too. We would love to get those guys out there. What I want to do for some of these guys who are true freshmen, right now we're getting into what I would consider for a scout team, offensive or defensive player, the dog days of fall. A year ago, these guys, the Mostart twins, they were getting ready for a first-round bye in the playoffs and a run to a state championship. Now they're looking at the calendar saying, I got 6 more weeks of scout team. I got to go up against Cordell Volson and Dylan Radens and Carson for another 6 weeks. So if we can get them out, I think if we can get them or find time or find the right spot to play them, I think it buys us, just those guys understanding that you're going to be rewarded for your hard work that you put in here at NDSU.
Feedback from current players, guys you had talked to in the defensive room for a long time, or just kind of something that you've kind of discovered and feel is right?
As far as playing some of these.
Yeah, like the dog days of fall.
Well, I think it's something that is easily evident. You go back through my 5-6 years that I've been here now, there's always a lull in the scout teams, and it's about that end October, November 1st, when most guys were either transitioning into hoops or transitioning into high school football playoffs, which we all understand. When I was in high school, high school football playoffs were you won Friday, you played again on Wednesday, then you played again Monday, and it felt like every 3 days you had a football game. And then the state championship was around Thanksgiving. Well, our regular season doesn't end till Thanksgiving. And so I think finding a way to reward them, to hey, we see the good things you're doing. We appreciate your hard work. If we can find a place to get them in there, I think that's and take some reps off some other guys as well, which is critical here in the next 6 weeks.
Got anything out of the UNI game?
I don't think there's anything that that anyone here wouldn't know about. Barty's going to continue to be out right now at this time. Otherwise, I think we're relatively healthy, some bangs and bruises, but I think we'll have everyone at practice today. We may try to back some people off just because of the physical nature of the game, but I anticipate we'll have everyone back tomorrow.
Where you might have to introduce a new defensive end? I mean, just someone that hasn't gotten reps yet just because Cook and Barty and...
Yep, potentially. Tony Pierce had a little bit of a hamstring deal, and it wasn't the game where a hamstring was going to help you. If they were going to be in 2-back and just block you at the point of attack, you probably could have survived. But all of a sudden, with an active quarterback, with a quarterback that wanted to scramble, quarterback run game, we just didn't feel like – and Tony was frustrated. He wanted to go. And hopefully we'll get him back this week. Dimitri Williams played a little bit sparingly, but it was good to see him warm up, be ready to go. I think you'll see him get incorporated more and more into the game plan as we move forward.